The room was still, except for the pounding of Anna's heart as her world cracked in a single instant. She stared at the email glowing on her laptop, words burning into her chest, each letter cutting deeper than a blade. Her voice shook as she whispered, "They don't believe in me, not after everything." Her breath caught in her throat, her reflection in the dark screen trembling with her. The silence was unbearable, broken only by the hum of a flickering light. She clenched her fists so tightly that her nails dug into her palms, yet no pain matched the sting of betrayal. "I gave everything," Anna said, her tone somewhere between fury and collapse. Her mind replayed every sacrifice, every long night, every ignored moment of doubt. Tears threatened, but she forced them back, her chest rising with defiance. "No," she muttered, "they won't bury me here. Not again." In that moment, her rage became fuel, and her despair shifted into the beginning of resolve. Anna sat still long after the screen dimmed, her silence heavier than thunder. She whispered, "All my years meant nothing." Her words clung to the dark air. She thought of her family, voices that once told her she would fail. Their doubt never left her. It lived in her bones. She clenched her jaw until it ached, breathing sharp and shallow. Every sacrifice, long hours, lonely nights, collapsed into a cruel joke. She whispered, "They'll never see me." The sting of rejection wrapped around her chest like barbed wire, but beneath the pain a spark refused to die. She closed her eyes and imagined standing tall where shadows could not reach. "I will not disappear," Anna muttered, her voice barely steady. Though fear pressed against her ribs, defiance began to breathe. Her silence was no longer weakness but a gathering storm. The next morning, Anna dragged herself into the office, the storm of the night still echoing. Her colleague Daniel, 32, with sharp eyes and a sarcastic tone, raised a brow. "Row night?" he asked dryly. She forced a smile, but her silence betrayed her turmoil. Daniel leaned back in his chair, voice blunt. "You can keep hiding, but they'll keep stepping on you." His words cut, harsh but honest. Anna looked away, heart pounding. She wanted to defend herself but knew he was right. His tone softened slightly, though laced with cynicism. "You've got more in you, Anna, but they won't hand it to you. You'll have to take it." Her chest tightened with both irritation and gratitude. She muttered, "You think I can?" He smirked faintly. "I know you can, if you stop doubting every step you take." Alone again that night, Anna drifted into memories. She was a child, no more than 12, standing at the edge of a crowded room where her family laughed without noticing her. She remembered the sting of being invisible, of words unspoken. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. "She's too quiet to make it anywhere." The sentence carved into her like stone. Even now at 29, the weight of those words pressed her shoulders down. She closed her eyes, seeing her younger self staring back. Small, uncertain, desperate to be seen. Anna whispered, "I'm still carrying you." The memory bled into her chest like an old wound reopened. Yet within the ache, she felt her younger self pushing her forward, demanding she stop hiding in the shadows. Anna woke with resolve. The weight of betrayal and the echoes of her past pressed heavily on her chest, but something inside refused to break. She stood before the mirror, studying her reflection, the same tired face but with fire behind her eyes. She whispered, "I will not let them erase me." The words felt foreign yet powerful, echoing louder than the doubt in her mind. She thought of Daniel's blunt truth, her family's silence, her own childhood loneliness, all fragments now woven into defiance. She pressed her palm flat against the mirror, as though reaching for a stronger version of herself. For the first time she saw not weakness, but the beginning of strength. Her lips parted with trembling conviction. "I will rise." Morning came with fluorescent honesty, and the office smelled like burnt coffee and old ambition. Anna scrolled an email thread where her work had been praised, then credited to someone else. Her chest tightened as if the screen had hands. Daniel glanced over and said, "Say it." She shook her head, afraid the word would break. He lowered his voice and said, Betrayal. There, now it's real. The syllables felt like gravel in her mouth. Anna said, they knew what I built. The cursor blinked like a taunt. Memories of late nights stacked in her mind like boxes no one would open. Anna said, if I speak, they will call me difficult. Daniel said, let them choke on the label. Shame tugged at her ribs, but heat rose in her throat. Fix was neat, quiet, and perfectly calculated. So she stood, and the room seemed to tilt toward her choice. The hallway was a tunnel of glass and whispers, and Anna counted her steps like prayers. She imagined naming the theft out loud, and felt the floor shift. Anna said, what if I am not enough when I speak? The question tasted like rust. A distant laugh from a meeting room stung her ears. She touched the scar of old doubt and felt it pulse. Anna said, I learned to survive by staying small. The words sounded borrowed from a life she no longer wanted. Daniel's earlier tone echoed, a flint against her fear. She pictured a door marked with her name, and a lock she could break. Anna said, truth only hurts where the bruise already lives. The thought steadied her hands. The hallway brightened, or maybe she did. She drew a breath that felt earned, not begged. Daniel found her by the break room sink, where the water hissed like a warning. He did not smile, and that was mercy. Daniel said, you are building a life on silence. Stop renovating the cage. The sentence hit hard and clean. Anna said, if I push back, they will close ranks. He shrugged with tired certainty. Daniel said, they will anyway, make it costly. Steam rose from her cup and fogged the steel. The metal looked like a mirror that refused to lie. Anna said, I am afraid of what I will sound like, angry. Daniel said, you will sound like yourself finally. The fear twitched, but resolve stood taller. She felt the old script loosening at the spine. The room seemed larger once she chose her next line. On her commute home, the city rattled like loose change, and a call lit her screen with a familiar name. Evelyn asked about work in a tone that already knew the answer. Anna said, it was taken. The pause on the line was a verdict. Evelyn said, you let people do this to you. The words found the oldest bruise. Anna looked at her reflection in the train window and saw the quiet child waiting for permission. She felt anger rise, clean and bright. Anna said, I am done asking. Silence answered, heavy and proud. The city lights folded into streaks, and she measured the distance between then and now. Anna said, I am not hiding anymore. The sentence sounded like a key turning. The call ended, but the door stayed open. The next day, a presentation waited like a test written in ink from last night's choice. Slides loaded then froze, and the room exhaled in patience. Anna said, give me a moment, and her voice did not shake. A manager coughed, a metronome of doubt. Heat crawled up her neck, but she stood her ground. Anna said, we will proceed without the deck. She spoke the findings from memory and watched them land. A question sliced in from the back row. Anna said, here is the proof, and mapped the data with calm hands. The projector revived, late to its own show. Daniel nodded once, the smallest banner. Anna said, credit belongs where the work was done. The silence held, then shifted, and she felt the room move with her. Anna sat at her desk after hours, the hum of the building fading into the night. She traced lines of data with her pen, steadying herself against the weight of doubt. She whispered, I know this better than anyone. Her chest tightened, but her breath leveled. Every detail, every number she recalled proved she was not an imposter. Shadows moved across the floor as cleaning staff passed by, indifferent to her woe. She thought of her younger self, shrinking in corners, and felt her shoulders square against the memory. Anna said, not small, not anymore. The silence felt lighter, as though she had claimed it. She leaned forward, writing notes with calm precision. The quiet night carried her resolve, no longer a cage, but a companion. Daniel leaned against her cubicle wall the next morning, his eyes sharp but voice flat. Daniel said, You look alive. What changed? She looked up from her notes and felt the smallest smile press her lips. Anna said, I remembered what I know. He smirked, a rare softness hiding beneath his sarcasm. Daniel said, so you stopped rehearsing failure. His words hit, blunt but right. She laughed under her breath, surprised by the sound. Anna said, maybe I did. Daniel tilted his head, still unconvinced but approving. He said, keep it before they take it back. She leaned back in her chair, a thread of calm pulling her upright. The office buzzed with chatter, but for once she did not shrink beneath it. The meeting room buzzed with the shuffle of papers and the scrape of chairs. Anna's name was called to present, and the familiar weight pressed her chest. She stood anyway. Anna said, I will explain our findings. Her voice carried, clear though her pulse raced. The room hushed, a dozen eyes fixed on her. Doubt hissed like an old ghost, but she silenced it with each sentence. Anna spoke of trends, of risks, of solutions carved from long hours. A manager asked a sharp question, the kind meant to unseat. Anna answered with steady logic, unshaken. Silence followed, but this time it carried weight she owned. For the first time she felt the room bend toward her words instead of past them. The applause was absent, but the silence was thicker than clapping. A colleague whispered to another, and Anna caught the smirk. Her cheeks burned as if the walls leaned closer. Anna said, you will not erase me with a look. Her whisper belonged only to herself, yet the fire inside grew. A senior rolled his eyes, muttering under breath, and the sound cut sharp. Anna steadied her breath, refusing to fold. She remembered Daniel's warning that they would resist her rise. Anna said, then let them resist. She returned to her seat, the chair groaning as though echoing her weight. The smirk lingered in the corner, but its sting dulled. Her eyes met Daniel's, and his nod steadied her spine. After the meeting, Anna walked past the glass walls that once made her feel exposed. Now they looked like mirrors, showing her reflection stronger than she recalled. She whispered, this is only the start. The phrase tasted like iron, solid and lasting. Daniel caught up, his stride casual but his eyes watchful. Daniel said, they won't forget what you did in there. She felt her throat tighten, but it was not fear. Anna said, I won't let them forget. The hum of printers and voices swirled around, yet her focus cut clean through. For the first time, she felt not small, but present. The hall stretched ahead, no longer a tunnel but a path. She walked, her steps not counted but claimed. Rumors slithered through the office like cold air under a door, thin and precise. Anna heard her name clipped short in a corner and felt the old sting rise. Anna said, they want me smaller. The thought hit like a dull bell. A manager skimmed past with practiced indifference, and papers sounded like quiet applause. Daniel said, noise is cheap. His tone cut clean, without comfort. Anna said, noise still bruises. She stood anyway, spine steady against the draft. A message pinged, coy and vague, pretending to be neutral. Anna said, I refuse to vanish for their peace. The words tasted like iron and relief. Daniel said, good. Now make them adjust their focus. Evening pulled her home, and the apartment greeted her with tired walls and a ringing phone. Evelyn asked how work was, voice wrapped in certainty. Anna said, they are trying to erase me. Silence spread like frost on a window. Evelyn said, you invited by hesitating. The words found an old path and walked it hard. Anna watched rain bead along the pane and refused to blink. Anna said, I am not asking permission anymore. The room seemed to breathe with her. Evelyn said, then prove it. The line clicked quiet, stern and final. Anna touched the glass, cool and honest. Anna said, I will not shrink to fit a story I did not write. They met at a quiet cafe where cups clicked like tiny metronomes. Daniel did not soften his eyes or his words. Daniel said, you hide when you should claim. The sentence landed like a gavel. Anna said, hiding kept me safe. She heard how small it sounded. Daniel said, "Safe is a room with no doors." Steam rose, and the window fogged a pale oval. Anna said, "I am afraid of the backlash." Daniel said, "Backlash is proof you moved something." She let the idea rest in her chest like a warm coin. Anna said, "Then I will move more." The promise felt exact. The cafe noise faded, and her breath evened into focus. Night returned with its old arguments, and the apartment felt too loud to breathe. Anna closed the bathroom door and sat on the cold tile. Anna said, "I am tired of earning air." The whisper cracked but did not break. The mirror held her without judgment, a quiet witness. Anna said, "They taught me to disappear." Her chest hitched, then steadied. She watched water run from the tap, thin and silver. Anna said, "Enough." The word filled the space and pressed against the walls. She wiped her eyes with the firm hand of someone arriving. Anna said, "Fear can ride, but it cannot steer." She stood, and her reflection stood with her. Dawn peeled open in quiet bands, and the city looked newly unafraid. Anna arranged her notes at the kitchen table and let the plan breathe. Anna said, "I will document the work and claim it in daylight." The line felt clean. She drafted timelines and receipts like scaffolds for a voice. Daniel texted a single word that read like a nod. Daniel said, "Proceed." She smiled once, small and sharp. Anna said, "I am done rehearsing apology." Coffee cooled, but her pulse warmed. She packed her bag and stood taller than the doorframe. Anna said, "Today I stop asking to be seen and start seeing myself." The office buzzed with Monday tension when Anna opened the file, labeled confidential. Her breath hitched. The document detailed projects she had led, now stamped under another's name. Her chest burned as betrayal inked itself in black and white. Anna said, "This is theft dressed in formality." Daniel leaned closer, scanning the screen, his brow sharp. Daniel said, "They didn't even bother to rewrite your sentences." Her throat tightened, but anger surged steadier than fear. Anna whispered, "They buried me with my own words." The screen reflected her steady eyes, not broken but lit. Daniel said, "So dig them back up and make them choke on the proof." In the conference room, the manager's voice dripped with pride as he claimed the work. Anna sat at the edge of the table, hands tight in her lap. Her pulse pounded louder than his words. Anna said, "They are rewriting me in real time." Her lips pressed together, her silence an anvil. Daniel's glance cut through the noise, a silent dare. The manager gestured to the screen, crediting himself without pause. Anna felt her ribs lock, but her jaw unlock. Anna said, "Not for long." The whisper belonged to her alone, but it rang true. The air around her shifted, heavy and waiting. After the meeting, Daniel stopped her by the elevator. He leaned against the steel doors, eyes unflinching. Daniel said, "You can't keep swallowing this." Anna stared at the floor's dull shine, fear coiled tight. Anna said, "If I fight, I might lose everything." Daniel said, "If you don't, you already have." The words pressed heavy but honest. She lifted her head, reflection in the steel staring back, sharper than she remembered. Anna said, "Then I will not hide anymore." Daniel smirked faintly, almost proud. Daniel said, "Finally. Let them see what they made." The elevator chimed, doors opening into choice. At night, Anna stood by her desk, the office deserted, her heart steady. She spread out evidence, emails, drafts, timestamps, her fingerprints on every piece. The silence hummed with justice waiting. Anna said, "They can erase my name, not my proof." Her voice cut through the air. She arranged files into a neat order, like stacking stones into a wall. She whispered, "This is my defense and my weapon." A shadow flickered in glass, but it was only her reflection, standing taller. Daniel's earlier words replayed in her chest like a drumbeat. Anna said, "I will not whisper my truth, I will show it." The next morning, The boardroom brimmed with voices until Anna stood, holding her folder tight. Silence cut the air. Anna said, "This work is mine, and here is the proof." Her words were calm, carved from nights of fear. Gasps followed like scattered paper. She laid down files, each page landing with weight. Anna said, "You took my voice, but not my evidence." The manager's face drained pale as whispers filled the room. Daniel sat back, eyes proud but guarded. Anna said, "I will not be erased." The silence stretched long, heavy, then bent toward her. For the first time she owned the air completely. The executive board gathered in a glass room that reflected the city like witnesses. Anna placed the folder on the table and felt her pulse drum a steadier rhythm. Victor Cole folded his arms and smiled, as if the outcome was old news. Anna said, "These documents show authorship, timeline, and decision trails." He said, "Teamwork blurs lines, and credit is collective when it suits the mission." Daniel sat near the door, watching angles the way a medic studies a wound. Anna said, "Blur is not theft, and silence is not consent when someone is erased." Victor Cole laughed, then faltered when she projected an email with his edits. Anna said, "Your approval note calls my work exemplary, then removes my name." The room stilled, as if the building chose a side and tilted toward truth. An executive cleared her throat and asked whether Anna had misunderstood the process. Doubt flicked across Anna's chest like lightning before the rain arrives. She felt 12 again, small in a loud room that never said her name. Daniel said, "Answer the question," his voice flat enough to hold her steady. Anna said, "Process requires transparency, not disappearance." She opened the version history and scrolled until timestamps aligned like spine bones. Anna said, "Here is my draft, here is his copy, and here is the change log." The executive leaned forward and asked Victor Cole to explain the overlap. He said, "I streamlined language, but the track changes glowed like sirens." Anna kept breathing until her fear realized it had nowhere left to sit. Daniel pushed his chair back and stood without ceremony. Daniel said, "You are watching a handoff become a harvest." He listed dates, meeting codes, and the moment the credit line vanished. Daniel said, "I warned her to claim it, and I warned him not to take it." A murmur traveled the table like a small quake rolling under carpet. Anna's throat tightened, but the feeling was not panic, it was air. Victor Cole said, "You're misreading intent," and reached for a friendly grin. Daniel said, "Intent is a story, evidence is a map." He slid printed emails forward, his signature anchoring the witness. The room finally listened for the first time since Anna learned to speak. The chair of the board asked for quiet, and then asked Anna to continue. Anna said, "I want credit restored to public records and future releases." She said, "I want process changes that protect junior staff from this theft." Her voice did not rise. It arrived, measured, and complete. The chair nodded and asked Victor Cole whether he would respond again. He started, then stopped, then stared at the evidence as if it could burn. Daniel said, "There is more," and referenced a chat log where advice became command. A hush settled like soft ash, and Anna felt her body release old armor. The chair said, "We will correct the record now and open an inquiry." It was not applause, but it was the sound she had waited to hear. After the meeting, the hallway felt longer but lighter, like altitude reached. Daniel walked beside her, his silence shaped like a shield. Daniel said, "You carried it well." Anna said, "I carried it long, today I set it down." An email arrived on her phone, subject line reading, "Credit restored." Another followed, outlining policy revisions and a request for her input. Anna said, "I will help build something that outlasts me." Daniel said, "Take the win, then make it bigger." She stepped toward the window and saw the city sharpen in the glass. "Ow." Anna said, "I am not asking to be seen anymore. I am choosing to be seen." The building emptied, but Anna lingered by the window, the city flickering alive beneath her. The glass no longer felt like a barrier. It was a mirror for the strength she had earned. Anna said, "I am not who I was when this began." Her voice steadied in the silence. Memories rose. Her father's cutting words, late nights spent invisible, betrayal stamped on her work, but they no longer chained her. Anna said they carved out into me, but I rebuilt with stone. The hum of the elevator faded, leaving her alone with her reflection, tall and unafraid. She pressed her hand against the glass, her posture carrying weight but no collapse. Anna said, "This view is mine to claim." At home, Anna unpacked the folder she once feared and placed it on her kitchen table. She touched each page with calm fingers, no longer trembling. Anna said, "This is my story, and it will not be stolen again." She saw her younger self in memory, the 12-year-old girl hiding in corners, desperate to be noticed. Anna whispered, "I see you now, and I will never look away again." The papers did not haunt her anymore. They looked like seeds. She smiled faintly, weary but proud. She said, "I can build with this, not break." The silence in the apartment wrapped her like an ally. Daniel stopped by unannounced, leaning against her doorway with his usual bluntness. Daniel said, "So, hero of the hour, what's next?" His smirk softened into something closer to respect. Anna laughed quietly, a sound new to her own ears. Anna said, "I'm not a hero, just finished being silent." Daniel said, "That's rarer than heroism." He stepped into the kitchen, eyes landing on the folder now closed. Anna said, "You were right to push me." Daniel said, "You were right to finally push yourself." They shared a moment unframed by cynicism, two people steadying each other without ceremony. Days later, Anna walked through the office not as a shadow but as a presence. Conversations hushed when she entered, but the weight no longer bent her. She said, "Their silence is acknowledgement." A colleague nodded slightly, respect in the smallest gesture. Anna's shoulders carried no apology, only purpose. She passed Victor Cole, who lowered his gaze first. Anna said, "I do not need their approval. I have my own." Daniel caught her eye from across the room, expression calm but proud. For the first time, Anna felt she belonged, not because the space invited her, but because she had claimed it. That evening, Anna stood on the rooftop, the city humming beneath her like an engine of possibility. The wind pressed against her, but she did not sway. She whispered, "I will rise," again and again. The words stretched into the night, sharp and certain. She remembered her silence, her fear, her smallness, and saw them dissolve into the skyline. Anna said, "This is not the end of the fight, only the beginning of the life I choose." Her reflection in the rooftop glass railing met her gaze, unbroken, steady, and undeniable. She let the silence settle like a crown. Anna said, "I am here, and I am enough."